that's a step in the right direction.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Tuesday. It's that time of the week yet again. My friend Luke and I, we have the insane privilege to be joined by some incredible talent to talk about George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, 1968. It's the film that revolutionized zombie movies from here on out. And, it's black and white, but that was kind of their intent. I always thought that this movie was way older because it was black and white. That's why at first, for the longest time, I was a little hesitant to see this because there was one point when black and white scared me away. A young head like me, I could care less about black and white. That perspective has changed. Thankfully, there's a lot of great stuff from back then. And I know it was definitely a real privilege. Luke and I, we got to see this not long ago. And this is just such an impressive film. But before we get into it, though, let's invite our incredible guests on. First off, debuting for the very first time on my channel. I've enjoyed his content for quite some time. You might know him from Film Threats Versus or his great streams where he discusses screenplays, scripts on Saturdays. That is the Script Doctor. Good to see you, man.
Hello, everybody.
Look at that. You could do a waving hand. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Dude, I'm very humbled to be here. I always like talking about classic films, especially ones that change or establish a new genre and change some definitions of certain horror elements. Thank you so much for having me on tonight, gentlemen. It's a pleasure, an honor.
Oh yeah, well, I'm glad we were able to find some time because you're so busy with your schedule, looking at people's scripts and such. So this is really cool.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about doing this type of stream for almost 2 months now. As weird as it is to see on other channels talking about, oh, Hollywood's dead. It's like, well, it's healing. It just feels like it's dead because it was really, really fat. And now all of a sudden it's lost a lot of weight and you're thinking, oh, you've lost too much weight too fast. But no, it's a good thing because now they're healthy or they're getting healthier. And one evidence of that is the fact that since that happened, I have been just swamped with work and helping out with some other projects and working on some of my own. And then hunting for financing as all screenwriters and do. So, yeah, I was so happy that as the fall kind of comes to an end, I actually had some time and I could participate with you gentlemen.
Yeah, man, trimming the fat, right? That's great. I need to learn that myself. I'm trying to trim some fat in a totally different way. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Real pleasure. Let's introduce the rest of our talented guests, the usuals, the regulars. Wilkie's Movies and Music, and our friend World War Joe. Good to see you two boys. How are we tonight? Feeling dandy?
Oh, spectacular. Phenomenal. We'll go with phenomenal.
Phenomenal is good.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, it's a lot of fun. You never have to twist my arm too hard to hang out and talk some movies with everybody, so I appreciate it very much.
Do you own Night of the Living Dead on DVD?
I have the.
Of course he does.
I have the Criterion 4K of that one, and it gave me an excuse to go back and rewatch it to.
That's so cool.
Get it fresh in my mind to talk about tonight.
Wait, you said you had a 4K? That's a 4K?
Correct. Yes, they have there's a Blu-ray and 4K in this. It was originally Blu-ray from Criterion, and then they did a 4K release of it. So there is a 4K restoration of this. There's only so much they can do, but I think it looks amazing. And sometimes the 4K can work some magic with black and white films. And I think it did with this one.
Man. Yeah, Script Doctor, one thing you need to know about Wilkie is he has a beautiful physical media collection. I mean, just look at that behind him. I'm so jealous. I want it.
Nope.
That's the best thing you have to have, man.
Oh, it's fun to have it. And then that you just go through and flip through and kind of relive those rental days. You kind of go out and figure out what you want to watch for the night, but always have a good time. Yeah, not the smallest collection, but definitely not the biggest, but it's mine and I enjoy it.
It's perfect the way it is.
You have your own personal blockbuster.
That's right.
That's right. That's what you got to do. You got to adjust because these great spaces that we grew up loving are gone and they're never coming back. So you got to build it yourself. That's what I've been doing too.
Well, with that note of enthusiasm and optimism, how are we going to start off tonight? No, I'm just kidding.
So real quick before we get into the story, just wanted to give this super chat. Sly Jester, good seeing you, buddy. $5, telling everybody to like, share, and subscribe, or else this Florida man is going to put on his driving gloves and throttle you over. How I feel about the time change. What time change? You're tripping balls, Sly Jester. There's no time change there. That is food though, so be prepared. Yeah,
next month.
Hit the like, share, and subscribe. these great channels that are joined by me. It's a real pleasure. But yes, let's get straight to the meat and potatoes because this is one special movie, and I have an interesting image. I hate to say it. Yeah, this is AI, but it looks so cool. I had to put it up. But yeah, for people that aren't aware about what Night of the Living Dead is, it's George Romero's first film, 1968. It's in black and white, but it's not really that old. This was, funny enough, doing Star so Trek's wasn't even. Oh yeah, well, I mean, doing so, this wasn't even like a creative choice. Doing the black and white necessarily, it was cheaper. It was cheaper to film this way. And you know what? I think this movie would be totally different in color. I think there is a colorized version of this. Yeah, I don't want to see that because I think it would take away a lot from the tone of this.
There's some charm. There's some charm with it. I think so.
Yeah. The director said that he made it black and white to make the gore look more realistic.
Oh yeah.
Which I mean, it kind of works, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, just telling everybody about the story real quick. So, of course, in the very beginning, we start with a very strange entrance where we're introduced to these siblings, Barbara and Johnny, and they are visiting their father's grave. Johnny is strangely, I don't know, unbothered by the whole situation. The father died years ago. They're checking out the grave. He's pretty annoyed. And while they're there, they stumble into a very strange man just kind of stumbling around. And Johnny's really just a straight up dope. And he's kind of messing with his sister, kind of antagonizing her and pulling that guy into the picture. And eventually that guy starts wandering towards them. And it turns out he is a zombie, or a ghoul, as they call him in this. And he kills Johnny. And that's it for him. We don't see him until much later in a much different sense. And Barbara's freaking out. So she charges away. She gets in the car, barely makes it anywhere with that. And eventually she runs across Ben, who is another survivor, in a abandoned house. While in the house, they barricade the space. They think they're all alone, and Barbara is totally shell-shocked. She is not the same person we were introduced to right off the bat. This is a shell of the person she was, and she's practically useless at this point. And Ben takes charge. While they're barricading the house, however, turns out they're not alone. There's a group of other survivors in the basement, and once they erect from the basement, they cause a lot of trouble that pretty much tears this whole house apart from the inside out. Now, there's so many different issues with this band of survivors. There's a lot of different power dynamics at play. Nobody really has any idea what to do in this situation. As time progresses, they learn of new developments over the news via the radio and TV, and their plans just kind of crumble one after another. This makes for a really exciting story, and today we're going to be breaking it down into different chapters. Starting with the first chapter, I want to get into this intro where we're introduced to Barbara and Johnny, because it's a really strange introduction to the story, because this sequence really, we don't see anything like it for the remainder of the film. So I'm kind of wondering what you guys thought was the purpose of this strange introduction. Why were we here in the cemetery at all? Why didn't we just jump straight to Ben's story and Barbara stumbling into the house?
That's a great question. I really don't know the point of it, because I was a little bit confused with Barbara, because she's not really the main character at all. We're not really seeing the story through her eyes. Like you said, she's kind of just a lifeless shell for most of this movie. So I really don't understand the point of the cemetery scene of it, especially the he's coming to get you, Barbara, by the brother.
Yeah, you wouldn't have gotten that line. You got to have that in there.
Exactly. But yeah, it did seem like a kind of an odd creative choice, because you could have started it where maybe she just stumbled into the house, but I don't know, maybe just the emptiness of the cemetery showing that you can get killed from anywhere. I don't know.
I kind of wondered if it was that leaning into that, the creepiness of a cemetery. I think anytime a lot of people walk through a cemetery, you might have a little uneasiness, or especially if you're the only people out there, and whether that's just setting the tone. And, for this being pretty much a one set piece kind of movie, that kind of opened it up a little bit before they got enclosed into, our final, where we are at for the rest of the movie, pretty much.
Yeah, I was extra confused because I did not think that was a real zombie. Walking up to, because I mean there was no makeup, no nothing. I mean, he was just walking, and I was like, and I couldn't tell if her brother was being serious or joking around with her, thinking it was not a zombie. I don't know, and it was just unnecessary, just like you guys said.
Well, that's kind of one of my questions, because he's antagonizing her, and it's like he's pointing out the zombie man over there, and I didn't really understand what was happening in that scene. Was he under the impression that that person over there was like an undead, and he was making fun of her for it? Because that passed me by. I didn't understand.
Must have been a drunk. He thought it was probably.
I thought so I think they make some references of when they were there a long time ago, and I think the uncle grabbed him and said for joking around and things like that, like, you'll go to hell for that, kind of a thing. And he was like, don't you remember, Barbara, you were so scared, and then he's like, oh, you're still scared, because she was acting kind of skittish about the whole thing. And I think he was just being a jerk to her. Okay. And he just happens to see this guy and starts playing off of that, and he's like, they're coming to get you, Barbara. Okay. And so I don't think he thought that person was undead. I think he was just messing with her and trying to find anything he could do to freak her out for a little bit. He's being a jerk brother.
Kind of amazing that back then that was the scariest zombie you've ever seen. I'm gonna definitely bring it up later on though. But my grandmother told me the story when she saw us in a drive-in theater. She vomited and they had to go home, and she didn't see the ending of it. It's like, wow, this was the scariest thing back then. These slow-moving zombies. Like, look at World War Z today. Like, it's night and day.
Yeah, that's still pretty tame itself as well.
I think we get so used to what we have been accustomed to seeing on even just broadcast TV. And back in the 50s, 60s, they didn't have a lot of that. I even remember talking to my mom when she was a young girl, and they went and saw the 10 Commandments in the theater. And when the Red Sea parted in that, it freaked her out. Wow. Like, and so it's just like the first time they're seeing something like that on a big screen. And I think sometimes it's hard for us to maybe get moved by that, just by how far things have gone a lot of the time.
There's no movie magic anymore, because so many of the tricks have been revealed over time, especially in the peak of the 90s, when behind the scenes television shows like Hollywood Special Effects, that was hosted by Christopher Reeve, really went into a lot of that stuff, because people love to see how did they do those things. As it regards to this particular scene, this is your compare and contrast, your conflict and a resolution, your cause and effect, because the entire establishment is that we learn that these two siblings, at the request of their mother, annually go to their father's grave to leave flowers. And the brother is upset by this because he thinks it's a waste of time. He has better things he wants to do. And the sister is the obedient sister. She doesn't break the rules. And Tom mocks her for that. And that goes into the story here. And the reason that George A. Romero starts with this scene, and this has been discussed in film schools and film class groups for decades, is he's trying to establish a normality of the world, so that when we see the first ghoul, we realize, oh, it's interrupted this film. This story that we're having about these siblings that are going to have to reconcile with their family is interrupted by the fact that we have this ghoul, which is later called a zombie, because prior to this movie, zombies were defined as brainless automatons, drones that would just do the bidding of the puppet master at the beginning. And this one, this zombie the term zombie came as a byproduct of this film, and also one of the most brilliant taglines: "When hell fills up, the dead walk among the earth." Like, how do you not just love that type of stuff? But it's all the contrast here, and the reason why, Barbara, no, is it Barbara or Judy? I keep forgetting the two.
Barbara.
Barbara.
Yeah. the reason that it's a little Hitchcockian, right? You introduce this one character, you realize, oh no, they're going to be pushed out of the movie because it's really about this person following up on them. We want the compare and contrast. Our main character in this movie, of course, is Ben, and he's awesome. But before we get to them, we see just the average person completely caught off guard, as one would be when a walking corpse starts to approach, and and her panic and her survival instincts allow her to get to that house. And then as soon as she's there, her mind, as an average, woman that obeys her mother, does what she's told, cannot handle change, stress. That's why her brother is able to mock her so easily. She just shuts down. And now she is like dead weight. and that informs us about Ben, who actually demonstrates that he cares about other people regardless of what's going on. It's like, this young woman is traumatized. Something's happened to her. I don't know what it is. All I know is that I should protect her. And even if she's not able to help, I at least, if I can secure this place, I'm protecting myself and her. And maybe when she comes to, we can work together as a team. But I can't abandon her because she's the only ally I have right now. And it's a really cool establishment of the humanity that Ben has, and how later that gets contrasted when the dad shows up.
Yeah,
Harry Cooper. Yeah,
I'm excited to get to his introduction. He really screws everything up. I loved just I wouldn't exactly say safe, but the safer dynamic when it was just Ben and Barbara in the house. It was like, that was almost like the perfect situation. And then of course we'll get to that, though. Let's move on over to the next phase, because of course, as you mentioned, Script Doctor, she does just kind of fall apart in this next installment, the next chapter, where she runs into Ben. Let me see if I can get a picture of Ben here. Yeah. So thankfully, she evades the ghoul that is chasing after her, and she enters this house abandoned. She sees a rotting corpse upstairs. Not a good sight. She's freaked out even further. And thankfully, Ben has also resided there, and he kind of takes control right off the bat. And thank goodness he does, because if he didn't, she would definitely be in big trouble. I kind of wonder about his character, how he's able to rise to the occasion so competently like this, especially like later on. He just grows more and more competent as a leader. And I don't think people are just bred with this sort of strength. I feel like it's welded through experience and training even. So I'm kind of wondering like what his background is to get to this point. Do you guys have any ideas about that? Maybe how he got to where he is here, where he can be such an exceptional leader? Do you think it's maybe just the person he is, or do you have any thoughts about that?
It's his personality, essentially. I mean, he just keeps his cool and he uses mind over matter. Everyone else around him is freaking out, screaming, and not thinking clearly. And he's thinking everything through clearly. And I don't think he raises his voice one time in the whole film.
Yeah.
Even when people are screaming at him, Well,
I think that's something that kind of like humbling about his character is, he's so frustrated with Barbara because she is totally lifeless. And, he's asking her to do the bare minimum and she can't even do that. And there's one moment where he kind of breaks just for a second, where he's almost going to like curse her out, but he refrains like midway through sentence and he decides not to. I think that's like one of those especially telling scenes.
I feel like if this was made today, if they remade it a third time, we would probably get a lot more backstory of him. I love how it is ambiguous. Like you just said, we don't really know anything about this character. I don't think we even really know how the zombies or ghouls even became here. Do we even get anything on that? No, we don't, right?
We get a speculation about radiation from Venus.
Yeah, there was a satellite that they shot down or something because they had high radiation levels they were detecting when it was coming back.
I remember
and
that.
so there was radiation levels that they were wondering if that kind of brought it back.
That's right.
With it, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
I love that backstory. It's so good. That's like something I still haven't like seen in zombie films since then. Like it's like a space threat that has descended onto Earth to cause this chaos to erupt. It's so weird. It's not a virus, right? I mean, the virus is the typical.
Have you seen Maximum Overdrive?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you have.
Oh,
Oh, you got to
let's
do
do
that
that.
soon. That's a comet comes over, and every machine comes to life and wants to murder.
Do a double feature of that in Night of the Comet.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Do a double feature of those two. But no, I mean, I agree with you. I would like to hope I could, if this all shook out, that you could be like him. But it's so easy to be like, oh, I'd never be like Barbara, but you don't know what you would be like
Yeah.
until you get into those situations and you have a sibling killed right in front of you, you know, or somebody you
True.
love right in front of you. But it's kind of weird where they, you know, there's sometimes hard times bring great people forward. And so not too long ago, not to go into it too much, but we were talking about Saving Private Brian, you know, and you have an elementary school teacher that is, you
Yeah.
know, all of a sudden leading this platoon and accomplishing great things. And I think some people, maybe it is some of their life experiences. Oh, it has to be some of their life experiences, but also there's just something in them that's just like, okay, I'm going to control what I can control. The things I can't, I'm not going to let that just tear me apart, and I'm just going to do what I can. And they rise
to the occasion.
Yeah.
That's the mark of a good story, is seeing someone rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
One of the things that always bothers me whenever I get a script sent to me for like an action thriller, whether it's a zombie film or anything else, they always make the main character ex-military, formerly trained, really well, like all the skills they would need to survive this particular situation, and it completely takes the wind out of the sails of the stakes, because now it's like, okay, I don't have anything to worry about. This guy's already been trained. Why I'm just watching him go through the motions. He's not going to be afraid or anything. Then you have someone like, say, John McClane in Die Hard. He's just a street cop who's now dealing with a terrorist situation. He's in way over his head. We are hooked on that film alone. But any type you ever do, like The Expendables, fun film, but like I'm not worried about them. They're like these. This is the stuff that they're supposed to do. When we see stories, we're looking to see people put in situations outside of their comfort zone so that we can see how they react and see how they face obstacles. And Night of the Living Dead is a great version of that, because we get a nice spectrum of different characters and how they deal with things. You get the young teenage couple that are just obeying the only authority figure they know, and then they're caught between Harry and Ben. You get the traumatic woman. You get the mother that's just concerned about her kid. You get the kid who has this very mysterious atmosphere around her. And then you get the dad who only ever had control in his own family and clearly never had control anywhere else in his life. And the moment that all other competition is gone, he steps up and he makes all the wrong decisions. And then when a new competitor for control comes in, they butt heads because he's terrified of not being in control of his life, even though every decision he's made has led to this point where he's always on the short end of the relationship, versus Ben, who would probably be pigeonholed into the short end, but is always able to rise to act.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, in this point in time, Ben doesn't have much going for him, just being the time period and such. But, you know, I think something I enjoy about this movie, just even in this introductory phase, was seeing the contrast between Ben and Barbara, because the two could be more different. And I think I really enjoyed seeing how he was able to rise to the occasion when she was so feeble, and he didn't use that as a means to ridicule her or to take advantage or take control or be a more, I don't know, boost his ego at all. You know, he's strictly interested in protecting himself and her. I thought that was so admirable just right off the bat. And I think, you know, I'm so sick of seeing men portrayed without any agency. And geez, I mean, Script Doctor, you know better than anybody that I think that must be like the most common course for any leading male hero at this point, right?
If it's not a part of their character journey of like a man who starts out with no agency only to be on a story where he gains agency, that I want to see. But if you're sidestepping the main character, then you're doing like what's called like a subversion, a classic subversion, where you as the storyteller are basically saying, yeah, I want to demoralize and deconstruct the trope so that I can entertain you all. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that have been coming up with those ideas don't know how to do entertainment on its basic level. So it just becomes very boring all around. and also done like very dejected. And then unfortunately those projects influence next generation of creatives, and then they take a page from that and say, oh well, this is how the direction it's going. And that's why I appreciate you guys, because you're going back to classic films that didn't have special effects. So what do they have to lean on? Actors and character. How do you captivate an audience with that? You figure that out, then the special effects just become icing on the cake. But the actual flour and all the ingredients themselves that really make it a meal, that's always going to be there.
Yeah, it's so encouraging because I think Gen Z script doctor, it gets so much crap because, and I don't blame them. I mean, you know what? We were raised, like when it comes to the theater experience, you know what we had? We had the Marvel movies. The treat of going to the theater, being raised in the theater for us was going to see Marvel stuff. And, all of that is pretty shallow across the board, MCU related. I think pre-MCU, we had way more heartfelt, value-based stories with a lot of role models. I could care less about the MCU. Sorry, Luke. Luke loves it. I don't like it. But that's what we were raised on in the theater. Thankfully, I think a lot of us were also simultaneously raised on a lot of great titles when we were younger, too, in the house. And I know one of my favorite films of all time, which is strange, but it's what I grew up watching the most, was Signs in 2002. M. Night Shyamalan, that's my number one favorite film. I just watched it again the other day. And I think there's a lot of young people that are craving role models, craving strong male leads with agency that are competent, that aren't sidestepped, and also great female characters too. I think we have been getting some of those, but us guys, we gotta have our treats too. And I think they've shat on us so many times over that, young audiences have kind of resorted to other means of entertainment, right? That's why we're not going to the theater as much as well, because I don't think a lot of us care about a lot of the pop culture, rainbow vomit in your face. So I think there is hope. I know a lot of young guys within our space. Every Tuesday night we get. Geez, there were 6 of us here today. We get together every Tuesday night and we watch the classics and we talk about it afterwards. So I think it's coming back. I think there is some hope, thankfully.
It is coming back. And what you mentioned with regards to role models is something that I've been pitching for 19 years, because I noticed that the trend of male role models and just role models in general had been going down the wrong direction. I jokingly attribute it to like Al Goth and Miles Miller, the teeny angst writers of like Smallville and a bunch of other CW shows, because that's what they did. Their deconstruction was, well, let's just make these people like so pathetic that they'll eventually become the hero. And then they just drag it on and on and on. And all of their problems are superficial and they don't actually really do anything with character. And it's like bad soap opera at 8 p.m.
Yeah, literally.
And the other part too is that the rejection of the role model in Hollywood from 2001 to about 2015 was not out of like, no, we don't believe in role models. It was that it's been done so much. We need to do something different, because here's the other part too. Sometimes you'd have a couple of movies that would come out with the intention of being a role model, and all they would do is get compared to previous films from other genres, other filmmakers that did it slightly better, negligibly better in some cases, a decade earlier. And there's like, okay, so it's becoming predictable. And this was part of like the straight to DVD era. In fact, I found a couple of George A. Romero's last zombie films were straight to DVD with a theatrical run, so unfortunately. But yeah, this was a big issue is that they were saying the audience is is able to predict this so well that we need to change it up and we need to turn things on their head. And it's out of desperation. And then desperation gets corrupted by those that can explore that area without the same nuance that an experienced writer has. Because when an experienced writer is being told, hey, I need you to write a character that's not going to be a role model, you're like, oh God, the number one thing you never do is write a character that people are going to hate.
Yeah.
And you're basically asking them to do that. And then they had the whole morally gray stuff, which, I mean, one of the things I appreciate about Night of the Living Dead, and this was kind of a common thing from this era, is that you don't really have morally gray characters. They get defined pretty quickly, and you understand their role. And then you also understand, like in some cases where you have a character that's caught between two points of views, they're not morally gray. They are experiencing and trying to make a decision best suited for them with the limited information they have. Like, that's why I like the teenage couple, because they are just they're so used to just following, authority. But Ben's the only one that ever gives that kid, hey, can you do this? Like, ask him a question, can he step up and show some responsibility? And we see how much he takes on that before we get too far ahead in that area. But yeah, role models, very important. It's one of the few things that I think help stabilize a great story is role models or people that you should not be like, and the entire narrative structure is to point out why you should not be like this person. And it all comes down to execution. There's a movie with Angelina Jolie called Salt, where she was supposed to be a female. She's a female spy. It was kind of a big thing, set a lot of waves, but didn't really track well with theaters or audiences. Fun fact about that, it was originally written with a man involved as Salt. And then Angelina Jolie read the script because she was going to be the female interest, and she's like, this is really good. And then she just said, could I play the Salt character? Could we gender swap it? And producers are like, we haven't done that before. And Angelina Jolie is still a hot ticket item. That could work. And that's what they did. Marketing wise was phenomenal, but yeah, but
it failed.
Not so much failed, but just did not make the headway that they were
underperformed.
Yeah.
I mean, but not saying that's bad, but there's a lot of great movies that underperform in the theater.
Oh,
that
sure.
doesn't.
Oh gosh, 1982 has a ton of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice, cool guys. Here, I'm gonna
can I say just two quick things?
Yes,
before I
please.
Forget them, because my mind is fleeting. I'm an old guy. Remember we talked about this, and I forget things really quickly. But talking about role models, why I thought Ben was such a great role model is I think he's relatable. Where we were talking about, like Script Doctor was saying too, like he's not coming from like he's an ex, Green Beret or with all this training and everything, and he's rising to the occasion. He's showing compassion for other people, and he's afraid as well, and he expresses his fear as well, and I think that makes it relatable. So sometimes a great hero that you can latch onto is somebody that's like, okay, I'm not some superhero trained person. Okay. I get scared as well. I can care for people, but you can have those traits and still rise above the situation and, become something, bigger. And I think that's a great thing. And also, I can't remember what came up. I just wanted to say it before I forgot it, but with this film being a very small budget and you don't have the big gore special effects like you do today, but I think the dialogue, the writing, the scenes that they set up so much tension throughout the movie. It's amazing what you can do when you have some good writing and some great acting and I said good writing, great writing and great acting. And the dialogue, there's a lot of, it's dialogue heavy, you're in one room a lot of the times and talking through things. And I think they still pull it off, creating tension between the people in there and, the undead that they have outside. And
that's what matters so much more than the Flash too, right? I don't like the Flash. I don't want a visual spectacle. My favorite, I love it when you just have a really intense scene of just two characters talking, and the way it's framed. I think this movie just, all the camera work is just exceptional. The cinematography. My gosh, you're just sucked right into each shot. That's something I love about Signs, up
from the beginning too. Like you were talking about the cemetery scene. There's a lot of like off kilter shots, like
Dutch angles. Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, I didn't know the right term for it, but but not everything's all lined up and pretty and nice. And sometimes some things go out of focus too, if you watch through there. And I think that adds to it.
Yeah, definitely. And the score, it has like such a beautiful score in the background that just like, I don't know, it plays your feels the whole time. I think, it's so smooth the way it guides you through the whole movie. I think I love how that's sort of like, it's such a subtle indicator for driving the intensity or whatever emotion it's trying to exhibit in the scene. You don't even think about it, but it's there and it's happening in the background. I love that about music. real quick before we move on, let me just get to the chat real quick. Sly Jester is popping off here. I don't know, man. He really wanted to see this again. Currently rewatching this film on 1.25 speed. Nice. I don't.
Dedication.
What does that look like? That's pretty fast. That music would sound very interesting. This movie it's public domain, right? So you could just find it anywhere. Is that how that works, Script Doctor?
100 years, isn't it?
It's a little bit trickier. So I think George R. R. Romero got the rights for a remastered version, and I think one of his special effects artists, who's also director, whose name is escaping me at the moment, helped him secure that. But yeah, they did not properly do their copyright paperwork correctly, so it's public domain, which means that you can sell your own versions of it without having to pay royalties to the creators. However, a lot of companies that do print DVDs, Blu-rays for this thing, they do make contracts with George A. Romero so that his estate gets money. And he got money at the time because, again, they thought, this is like a genre-defining film. A little bit of logistics and a mistake because, again, not many people knew how to. There's a ton of movies from 1930s up to the late 1970s that are public domain that are really hard to find nowadays because no one really cares anymore. Once it became public domain and you couldn't make a profit on it from yourself, people just kind of abandoned them. But yeah, there's a lot of movies out there that are like that. So, I mean, even to some degree, you could technically share some clips of the original print version of Night of the Living Dead on your YouTube channel without getting copyright struck because it is it's part of 100% fair use. But there's a remastered version, there's a Criterion version which Corey has shown. The version that I have was a restoration version, which is absolutely fantastic. But that's all like renewed copyright, so that's more like, I think that was copywritten in 2007. The remastered version that I have. Excuse me. But yeah, like this low budget, contained thriller, structured very much like a stage play. And yeah, just enrapturing all around. And great little cause and effects, great little discoveries that are done here. The radio stuff is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into that.
They have that really old batteryless radio. Like that's what they used to be called back in, the 60s and 30s, from the 30s to the 60s, the batteryless radio.
Batteryless radio.
Because they didn't really think of plug in at
the
time.
Nice. That's a hard one to say.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. I know the family that invented it, and yeah, they're weird.
Definitely.
One thing I'll say, talking about how people might come in and restore this film and then still give, do a contract with Romero's estate. I thought it was cool. I kind of forgot about this, but when I threw the Criterion in and was watching it, when it popped up at the beginning. So part of the collaboration to restore this one to the 4K was Museum of Modern Art, and then also George Lucas Family Foundation. So I thought
I was wondering what that was about. I thought maybe that was a different George Lucas from a long time ago.
No, some of them do trust that help restore and keep films going. And I know a lot of other big name directors, they set up some trust to help restore some of these old things. They want to keep the history, and they're like, we wouldn't be here if they weren't there to begin with, and to have people celebrate and enjoy it for generations to come.
That's respectable. It's nice. Cool. All right, here real quick, let me just say hi to a few more people in the chat, as Wilkie always does. He always says hello to everyone in the chat, every chat possible. It's great. Let's see. Nads is here. Horror with Nads, good seeing you. Movie is a 10 out of 10. It is dang good. It's awesome. Oh, do I need to unsub? How dare you? We did like it. It's very enjoyable. And then Carbonated Steel here. Sometimes you just need to slap some sense into some people. Yeah, it seems like that his little slap he did there seemed to make a bit of a difference, not gonna lie.
I think she slapped and he kind of did a little punch. But
yeah. She that was eye-opening for sure.
It's a tense moment. We'll give it that.
Yeah. Let's see. And then Tom Savini, he's in the next one, isn't he? He's in Dawn of the Dead. Is that right?
Ooh.
He's in one of the Romero films, or he does work with it at least. I don't know.
Yeah, not this one.
He's not in it. Okay, yeah, I'm not too familiar with him, but I know his name. Great. Well, we haven't gone very far. Let's get farther into the story here because, of course, we keep talking about this character here. This is Harry, I believe, right? Yeah. When Harry, of course, it's not just Ben and Barbara in the house. They soon discover that Harry. So there's quite a few guys in this basement here. You got Harry and Helen Cooper. They're the couple, and they have an ill daughter, Karen, who is going through something traumatic down there. She's laying down, dying, I guess, or she's in like some sort of coma. She's not responding much. And, this kind of like sows the seed of doubt, like, is she like, infected or not? Right off the bat, I thought she was, without a doubt. I mean, it had to be, right? I mean, this is a zombie movie after all, but I can't imagine, back then when this first released, anybody would have imagined that. But of course, you have them, and then you also have Tom and Judy, like you said, Script Doctor. They're like the young kind of teenage or early 20s couple that doesn't really know exactly what to do in this situation, and they're sort of trying to find leadership where it comes, and they also want to make the best decision for themselves because they don't want to. They want to survive as well. And a lot of disagreements erupt over whether to stay like upstairs, like on the ground floor, or to go into the cellar. And this was like a big point of contention between Ben and Harry as the two just batted heads back and forth over and over again. And it's pretty frustrating. We get pretty much the most amount of conflict in the entire movie is between these guys. I wouldn't even say it's between man and monster. I'd say it's more between man and man, between Ben and Harry. So I guess that's what made for, a pretty interesting dynamic. The group's kind of torn apart from the inside and the outside as the zombies are trying to siege their way into the house, which they are very good at doing, as we will soon see. So I'm kind of wondering, just right off the bat, I kind of briefly mentioned it there. Were you guys initially alarmed about the little girl that was down there laying down flat? Or do you think she was, potentially a zombie? What do you think was going on there?
I'll say when I was a little kid and saw this first time, didn't think two things about it. But then now rewatching it after years and years of movies that have been influenced from this movie, the first thing that would come to my mind is like, oh, where's the bite mark, or something like that. But
she reeks of red flags.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is the first time you're ever seeing a zombie movie, you're easily surprised. Which
yes,
is exactly what it's for. However, this formula has been repeated almost in every single Living Dead film that's followed up, whether it's part of the Romero series or any of the adjacent ones that kind of ape his style. Like there's always going to be that one character that is hiding the fact that they've been infected or at least on death's door and will turn because you have to have that surprise. You have to have the whole, like, the call is coming from inside the house moment, and this is a great way to establish that.
Was this like a script? Do you know by any chance if this is sort of like the introduction to that idea? Maybe before like a zombie premise kind of came about. Do you have any idea about that?
Well, this is the introduction of like a character kind of turning and losing their soul to be the enemy that is on the outside. Yeah. But there's others. I mean, there's other movies in the 60s. So there's an Agatha Christie film called 10 Little Indians. And one of the people there is the murderer, and you don't know who it is. And people are just going one by one off. But that's also done in the 60s as well, black and white too. You should check that out. But yeah, in most cases, I can't really think of an earlier. I mean, I'm sure there was another movie out there or another story that had something of that issue. But it's just not ringing a bell for me right now.
Hey, I mean, you named a pretty random one out of nowhere. That was pretty cool. Nice. Yeah. Kudos to you, man. I'm impressed. Yeah, I think I'm so impressed to learn that so many of these tropes of zombies, like the whole lore of zombies, kind of came from this film. It's insane. We're going to get into that a little later because I was, by the end of the movie, we learned so much about zombies. And a lot of that comes through, live telecast via, the television and word that we receive over radio, and that's also an exciting segment here. But Harry here is such an interesting character. I hate him and I love him. You know what I mean? He really makes this movie interesting. I don't think it would nearly have the amount of payoff that it does by the end of the film if it weren't for this guy right here.
And not to go into too much yet, but if you watch a lot of audio commentaries about the movie, people who are involved with it, the story goes deeper than what you're just watching too. There was a lot of social commentary as going on with the movie as well. So
you watched a commentary like a disc where the director's talking over it.
Yeah, or people involved with it, or historians, or I geek out on that stuff. It's fun to listen to.
It's like, something I love talking about movies on here. One thing that it doesn't bother me, but it sort of takes away from the movie magic a little bit, is learning so much about behind the scenes. It's like, I love talking about it, but at the same time, it's like, I kind of want to leave it at surface sometimes.
You don't want to know how the magician gets the rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm kind of wondering what you guys think about this character, because, Harry, you wonder if a lot of his motives are based on what they are based on, because he's so interested in keeping his family and pretty much everybody in the basement. So I'm kind of wondering what you guys think. Do you think he's interested in keeping everyone down there because he wants to have power over people, because that's where it is? Do you think it's because he's fearful and he's unsure of what happens above that space? He's like confident that is the safest option? Or if there's another idea, do you think, what do you think's going on?
Oh, I think that's easy. As a new father, I think watching this movie differently now, I understand. I'm not saying he was right or absolving him or everything like that. I understand what he's going through, because your job as a parent and a husband is your family. And if it was a situation about, the five of us in a zombie house, of course, everyone help each other out. But if it's me and my wife and son down there, the hierarchy is them two, 50 feet of crap, and then everyone else fighting for second place. It sounds terrible, but I understand why he wants to stay in the basement. It is the safest place. Sure, you guys do whatever you want up there. Stay away from my kid. I don't care how it looks, but this is my priorities, and that's it.
Dang, man.
Yeah, he's all in for himself and his family. He has no faith or hope for the safety of the others in the house, which kind of reminds me of that one old man from Bird Box. It was the same scenario. He was the old grouch in the house, all in. He was just upset because things were going his way, and that's why I kind of understood. Prior to all of this, I kind of understood how this guy was gonna be in the following scenes, because it kind of reminded me of Bird Box, and I kind of I didn't know if they were gonna what do you call it, like kind of correlate how those both scenes went.
Sure.
Both movies.
I wonder, it's like this poor guy, he gets no respect from anyone here. And I feel like, before Ben and all of them came into the picture, he had it down. They were safe down there. Obviously, by the end of the movie, it probably would have been better to just stay in the basement like he instructed. But, right when Ben showed up, his wife kind of lost respect for him, mostly because, he was acting pretty, disrespectfully.
Well, and it sounded like that was happening before as well. And this, there was comments. It didn't sound like it was a super happy home before this event. So we'll just say that. But sorry, go ahead.
I don't remember what I was going to say anymore. You destroyed it, Wilkie. My vision, you destroyed it.
Let me, I think I might be able to know where you're going with. It's, I think, like Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. So we could all say how we'll be in a situation like this. For all we know, Harry was the loving, tender husband and father and everything like that, and then confronted with literally the living dead outside his doorstep. It probably changes him. So I do like how we didn't get a whole bunch of backstory, but I'm actually willing to give him just a tiny bit of grace, because a situation like this, I think it would definitely change most of us.
Yeah, I'd say so. It makes you wonder like who you would be in this group. There's so many different personalities reacting to this situation. I think it was like it's frustrating seeing where he is here because he is interested in doing the right thing. I think everything he does is I think it's mix of fear and power. I think it's a mix of all three of those things, survival, fear, and enjoying the power that comes from being a leader. But I think at the end of the day, he's doing what he is what he believes is right to protect his family. I think you're right, Joe, with your newfound perspective.
Mhm.
But I think he does that's a challenge for him, have somebody else come into the picture that has a different idea of what he is saying will keep people protected. And he has a hard time navigating that, I guess.
In the end, wasn't he right in the end that the basement was the safest place? And if we were just to the zombies, if you barricade the one door, they ain't getting down there. All you have to do is just wait it out. I mean, the whole events of this movie, I think it only takes place overnight, right? It's not a long. Yeah, so
one night,
that's a hard
next
thing.
day the problem solved.
That's a hard thing to figure out. I mean, who knows what waiting it out is? Like how food,
electricity.
Bathroom.
Also, you've got the daughter there that becomes a zombie, and spoilers, kills everybody inside. Truth be told, like you really do want to get into a place where you can escape if enough of like 3/4 of your structure is surrounded, you have a way out. It's usually always to be kind of best on the move until you can get into like a fortified area. And then we also find out later on that there's shelters being erected in various towns, and everybody's being advised to get there for your protection, and that's the plan. But of course, Harry doesn't want to do that. So and that's that's where we get the real conflict, because as you were saying earlier, it's man versus nature, man versus beast, all on one.
So one of the commentaries I went into, and so Brawler, sorry, you might be like, I don't want to know.
No, I want to know. I want to know everything, Wilkie. Tell
but
me
one
everything.
thing, talking about the media piece of it, I think is very interesting. From the 60s to today, still is relevant. One of the commentaries was going into distrust of media and how they report things. Because at the beginning of this, they're like, barricade yourself in, don't go anywhere, stay at home. And then it's like, no, you need to get out of there. Don't barricade yourself in, get to one of these shelters, And I think that was like supposed to be a
Good
subtle,
point.
like
Yeah,
how
I
they're
didn't
reporting
catch
things,
that.
where they're telling, but
Yeah, I think that's like one of the most clever aspects of the whole film is like the world building that comes from the radio and from the TV. I really enjoyed that aspect. Like one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is just the simple sequence where Ben is, barricading the house and he's got the radio on and you're learning about what is happening. I really enjoyed that. And he finds the rifle and finds the ammo and such. I loved that. It was really enjoyable for me. But, when we're talking about the broadcast, because it is a very important tool here that, kind of, as you say, it's sort of, it poses conflicting narratives. It's pretty vital to it's a vital tool that altered the path that these characters probably would have chosen to do naturally if they didn't know this information. I mean, they learned, there was some helpful information there. It was revealed that zombies, they died by, blows to the brain, either you shoot them in the head or, just a blunt force to the head ends brain activity, thus ending the ghouls wandering around. And then they also learned about the safe houses, the camps where the National Guard are, where you could be safe if you go to these locations, the rescue centers, sparking, it sparks hope in a tale of desperation. So I'm kind of wondering what you guys think would have happened if they hadn't listened to the radio at all, if they didn't watch the TV, if they just went on their own instinct. How do you think the story could have played out?
I really don't think it would play out any differently.
I think in a situation like this, there really is no 100% right or wrong answer. It almost seems like whatever you do, that will have its, advantages and disadvantages. So I feel like once you find a place that you could essentially just, like I said before, the 3/4 location where you at least have one way to escape, that's kind of better than just kind of rolling the dice after you already find a place that might be the one.
maybe they would have just hunkered down and waited it out if they would not have heard that info. You know, if they didn't have things popping up about camp. I'm not saying good or wrong, bad or whatever,
Yeah.
but you know, like even there's still the argument about being in the cellar or being upstairs and boarded in. But you know, if they would not have had that TV or radio, if they would have just sat still and just boarded up and seen how far they could have made it from that point. But
Yeah, I think
They might have
would've went
lived.
down that road too.
Yeah, they might have all survived if they would have just boarded up and made no sound whatsoever. They didn't try to drive away or pump the car with gas or anything like that. It might have worked out best for them.
Yeah, I think I wonder about that too. I don't think they would have changed anything. I think they would have hunkered down. I don't think there'd be any reason to believe you should leave the place. I think it was interesting, you know, the zombies as a threat. They're so, you know, I think based off the first encounter with the zombie messing with Barbara at the cemetery, it really didn't seem that threatening. I mean, we don't see the zombie tear apart Johnny or whatever her brother's name was. I mean, Johnny kind of hit his head on the gravestone and he died. I mean, it wasn't some gruesome death. And it didn't really seem like they were very threatening. That's something I admire about this movie was that, you know, I love the horde, right? The power of the horde. And I think a lot of modern zombie movies, you know, like World War Z, they obviously kick it up to the max, but it just feels so much more real in this sense. And it's hard to put my finger on why that's the case, but it seems just way more realistic here.
What you just said made me think, okay, so Johnny hit his head and died. He wasn't bitten, right? So is this like a Walking Dead situation where the dead is just rising up? Or obviously the girl gets bit and she turns to later on though. But if you die in general, do you become a zombie?
they do say that in the movie.
yes.
And whether that's right or wrong, they don't necessarily say you're bit, but it says anybody that's died recently seems to be raising from the dead. Because they were talking about somebody just laying in the morgue.
Yeah.
I think at one point they said somebody's just laying in the morgue that had like no limbs, and
yeah, that's right.
But they their torso started moving, and so I don't think they said specifically biting, but just if you recently passed away or died, whatever.
It's in follow-up movies where you see the hand burst from the grave, where it's like doesn't matter how long you've been dead, you're coming to.
Man. Here, let's say I think the chat's got some interesting thoughts. Good to see you, Emperor Goodwin. Thanks for joining us. Emperor Goodwin says it's the incremental increase in threat levels. You see one or two at first, but they keep slowly increasing in numbers until they are overwhelming. Yeah, I loved watching that development grow.
Doesn't that even feel like it relates to today too? Like social media, you get one person that's badgering you, whatever, but then it starts building, and you got like 10, then 20, and then 50 or whatever.
Is that what happens in your chats, Wilkie?
It's every single time because they're like,
haters.
Why are you still coming in here, man? Get out of here. No, but I mean, it's kind of that
it is true,
the horde
mob
mentality. Yeah, mob mentality. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, it's a shame. Let's see. Everything's so negative. You know, that's something I love about watching these old movies is, you know, Script Doctor, every week, we don't really talk about bad movies. We don't waste our time watching bad movies. You know, we have a lot of good people that tell us their thoughts on great classic films we need to check out. So we watch them, and they're pretty much always great. So we're saying happy things here. It's good. It's a good dose of positivity. Let's see. Jess.
Isn't it cool to still have a movie that's from the 60s that still can make us today watch that and like talk about things and even find relevance to things we're dealing with today,
to present day. Weird. Yeah, like the media, you say. I mean, that's a good point. I thought I read that somewhere because I was looking up some like fun facts about the movie, and they were talking about how Romero was kind of sprinkling in like a distrust in media back then. That's what he was doing. That's insane.
Or just like be careful of how much you just put all your trust into one source kind of a thing, you know, like keep an open mind and don't just get it all from one source. But then also with the house itself, and I didn't come up with this myself, but some of the commentaries were talking about like, you know, that house right there, you could be talking about the United States. You got people from different backgrounds, different races, different economical background, you know, like, and you're all coming together and trying to figure out a way to work together, and you have different viewpoints, different biases. You have different fears or things that have happened to you in the past, and it can affect how you act in different situations.
Yeah, fair point. Let's see. Rebel Rose is also here. Good to see you. Rebel Rose was there for all 8 hours of our Goosebumps stream the other day. It was impressive. Never seen that before. So
Marathon.
Thanks for sitting with us, Rebel. She says, I personally would be the scared chick in the corner. LOL. I like to think I would be helpful, but most likely not. Yeah.
It's always easy to say you're going to be like I'm taking charge,
cool
you know, but if all that went down, who knows what you would act like, you know?
Exactly, right. Yeah, I'd probably be more like, I don't know. I'd like to think I'd be
I'm gonna
like
go to the
Tom, you know,
basement.
somebody just kind of normal, trying to be helpful. Yeah, I'd be Karen, the dying child. That's me. Let's see. Let's go on into the next segment, which is a sad part of the story. I don't have an image that directly relates to it, so I'll just put the zombies up here. But Chapter 5, the failed escape. So, you know, the team, they plot this incredible escape plan to get out of there after learning about the camps, the safety camps. They are planning on escaping the house. You know, at first we thought we were going to hunker down. Now they definitely have a plan to refuel the car or the truck. I can't remember which one it is. I think, yeah, refuel the truck. There's a gas pump really close to this abandoned house. They have to unlock it. So they go through this elaborate plan. You have Harry on the second floor. He's throwing some Molotov cocktails. And then you have Tom and Ben. They're going to be driving the truck out to retrieve more gas. And of course, this is, you know, no easy feat to accomplish because there's like 100 zombies out there at this point. And of course, unfortunately, this whole maneuver goes terribly wrong. For whatever reason, Judy rushes outside and disrupts this maneuver right off the bat when she was supposed to be staying put. That was very frustrating to me. And secondly, when they did successfully make it to the pump without zombies directly on their doorstep, Tom, he makes a silly mistake of, I guess, what does he do? He doesn't pour gas, but he accidentally lights the gas pump on fire while he's pouring it or something like that, because
he's never used a gas pump before in his life, because he is just spraying the side of the car.
Yeah, literally. Like, come on, man. For real.
Thirsty.
Yeah, that's not how you do it, buddy. And yeah, he caused a huge issue here. Some of the gas gets on the car and it gets on the pump, which is terrible because it's now made the pump useless. You can't pump any more gas. I was surprised we didn't see the pump explode itself. I thought we were going to get that definitely.
Well, the thing that freaked me out too is when they couldn't use the key didn't work for the lock on the pump, and he uses the rifle to shoot the lock out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no. Somebody will yell at you for using your cell phone next to one of those, let alone shooting a rifle at the thing. So
Exactly.
anyway,
Yeah. Hazardous for sure.
What is this picture we're looking at here? Is this from behind the scenes or the actual movie?
Yeah,
That
I mean,
looks
look,
like
she's smiling.
that looks like behind the scenes because she looks like she's
Scariest
smiling.
thing back then. And why is that dude's head on the right?
Yeah, what is up with that? He looks
Frankenstein.
kinda freaky. There was a couple of Frankenstein-looking zombies here, but yeah. So what ends up happening is the truck catches on fire, and poor Tom and Judy, they both blow up. I was actually, when Judy ran out and ruined the plan, I was like, oh, come on. And then when they blew up, I was like, okay, I'm not so distraught.
Well, when she
now.
ran
We
out,
screwed it
didn't
up.
you automatically think like, oh, yep, she's dead?
Yeah.
Well, you know, so this is
She's
my
dying.
question I have about this, because I'm curious to know what you guys think. When she ran out there to meet Tom in the truck, did you guys think that her and Tom had a plan in the background to get in the truck and drive off without everyone?
Oh,
Yes.
If it was Harry, I would say
Oh.
yes. Them too, I don't know, but that's interesting.
So you know what's funny?
Good premise.
In Bird Box, the couple drives off without everybody else and strands them.
Wow,
Mm,
I've never
I mean-
seen Bird Box.
You're going to see those situations. I think just, comedically for this film, anytime a woman tries to help, it just backfires horribly.
So accurate when I saw that.
That's the lesson, life lesson learned.
Might be something from the 60s, might be something universal, I'll leave it up to the debate. I'm just pointing it out that,
I'll say it's to the 60s because there's some comments that are made in the movie that I'm like, oh man, that would not go well. Like, and I'm not saying this is my opinion, so please don't. But there's like a part where that dad that's causing all the problems, he's like, what are we gonna do? We only have 3 men, and then there's 3 women, and and a child, that's injured. And I was like, okay, well,
they could have done something.
I think they could do something, but yes, there's some signs of the time.
Yeah, I mean, when he was up there on the second floor, he was not impressing me when he was throwing those Molotovs. That
I was waiting for him to light
them.
the house on fire,
I know, like that was pretty pathetic. I thought, like, when she ran out there, I feel like, I don't know if Romero did this on purpose or not, but we had some dialogue between Tom and Judy before this plan went underway. And they were just kind of giving each other these looks like they had something going on in the background. And I just wonder if, for whatever reason, he planted that so we would have some doubt, or maybe I just read into it too much, because when I saw those two right before that happened, because Tom gets in the truck and you just look at her and she has like just this strange look. And it's not a concerned look. It's like, here's my cue, I need to bounce kind of face. And I was wondering if anybody else thought the same. You said you saw that, Joe?
No, I was saying if it was Harry, I think I would definitely say his plan was to run away. But them two, I gotta watch again. It's a very good point, and maybe that would have been the plan. It kind of would have been interesting to see if they got a little further before the car exploded, to see maybe they were gonna drive away. But I don't know. You got me thinking now.
Yeah. So, during this whole sequence too, they die, of course. And, even worse yet, Ben is out there on his own and he's just flailing his homemade torch around in a circle trying to get back to the front door. Somehow he makes it and he doesn't die. And by the time he gets out there, right in front of the door, Harry locks him outside. So this is like,
he doesn't. He doesn't unlock it for him.
Wait. You're saying he does lock it, or
he does not unlock it for him?
He doesn't unlock it.
Because they're like, lock it, but then when we come back, like, let us in right when we get back there. And he hesitates. He does the looking at the door like, oh,
okay, so before we were talking about how a lot of his less popular phrases and actions came from his instinct to protect his family. So what was the point of this then? Is this malicious? Is this the same theme here? Is it survival? Why did he do that?
Well, you could say it's survival, because maybe he could say, like, okay, if the door doesn't open, that's less chance of the zombie, undead, whatever, ghouls getting in. And maybe he's even like, that's one less person that's using up food and water that's in the house too, and my family's in here, we're good. I'm not saying that's right, but maybe he was going to that point where he's just like, that's more for us to be able to survive and wait it out.
I kind of wonder, because I feel like this is like a classic case of like a power play sort of thing. Like, I felt like earlier he was really enjoying being in charge. And then all of a sudden, like I said, Ben comes into the picture. And here was another case where Ben got what he wanted and he did not get what he wanted. And this guy, I have the opportunity to stake my claim that it's me that's got the agency. It's me that's saying what goes. And that was like his choice to make that decision just to protect himself and protect that ego.
But we have to look at, okay, whose idea was it to go outside? I mean, is Harry right? Maybe Ben's taking charge of this. Hey, let's go outside. Let's fill up the car. What happened? 2 people blew up. There's a giant fire now. There's 100 zombies coming in here. So if you're Harry, it's like, well, I told you guys not to do this. Why would I listen to you guys going forward? I mean, Ben does have that presence, but sometimes being the guy in charge, you have to make the right decisions. And maybe he saw it as maybe he's not making the right decisions.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a complicated matter. It's a
Yeah.
complicated matter. We don't.
I would say right or wrong, he definitely was challenged with Ben coming into the picture, because up until that point, his wife, his daughter, and that young couple were all in the basement because he said that was what we needed to do. And after Ben comes into the picture, people start thinking, well, maybe your idea, right or wrong, but maybe your idea isn't the best one. And you see the younger couple come up. You even see his wife questioning things. And I could see that where that was a big challenge to him as well.
Real quick, let me get to these super chats. Thank you, TGV Monster. I always remember you when Drinker reads off your super chats, so it's cool reading off yours. TGV Monster, $2. This film inspired my favorite game series, Resident Evil. Nice. I bought the first one. If I'm gonna play them, I want to start in the very beginning, and it's so weird. I open up the game, and it's not full screen at all. It's like a quarter of my screen is Resident Evil 1.
You know when it came out?
Screen.
That's when I was probably your age. No, I'm just kidding. But the first one came out quite a long time ago.
Wait, so were you my age or you
No, I was probably younger.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to be nice to myself.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know the dates. Okay, it's weird to think it's 2025. All right. Okay, TGV Monster again with $2. Thanks, man. Day of the Dead and Land of the Dead rule as well. Okay, so worth checking out.
Both are fun ones.
Are they sequels or are they just new titles?
Land of the Dead. Day of the Dead might have. I think it was a sequel to. Yeah, wasn't it? But
they kind of run in
something.
Yeah, but they're fun. Yeah, they're fun ones.
Yeah, Emperor Goodwin says it here, and I think that's got to be like the silent nod, right? You can't ignore the racial aspect of some of the confrontations with Ben. It's funny because they don't reference it at all, not a single time. And I'm glad they didn't.
But I think that's where he is being a little more craftful with his. When you say this movie has social commentary to it, I don't think he was being heavy-handed with it. He was being very thoughtful, and like he was doing it in a way where maybe if it was heavy-handed, some people wouldn't be receptive to it. But the way that he handles it, I think it can hit a larger audience to really think about some things.
Yeah. Rebel Rose, Harry could see Ben as a liability because everyone is getting freaking killed under his leadership. Yeah.
I'm on Harry's side. We're going through this now. It's like, yeah,
Team Harry.
I mean, before Ben got there, they were in the basement, they were safe, and then what happens?
They were doing well. Team Harry all day.
But the thing, okay. But my argument then is they were in the basement, but they didn't even know there was a radio. They didn't know there was a TV. They didn't have any of the food from upstairs down.
They didn't know about any of that.
They didn't have the gun with them. They were just a door shut and in the basement. And so like how long would you last like that and you wouldn't have the information coming in?
Yeah, they'd be itching to get out of there, probably. Or at least the wife would, because she's reasonable and he doesn't seem reasonable at all.
Yeah, no, he wasn't too reasonable.
No,
he was being pretty much a jerk, grabbing her cigarettes away from him. A lot of smoking in this movie. There's a lot of cigarettes getting thrown around in this one. So
the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
TGV Monster. They're sequels in the same way that Bond films are sequels to each other. Oh, yeah, kind of unrelated a little bit. In this sequence, like one of the final chapters here, we see another like really strong scene between Ben and Harry because Ben eventually does get inside. He kicks his way in and he keeps the zombies out, and then he beats the crap out of Harry. Let me see if I can pull up the picture. Like his face here, this is such weird battle damage. I don't think the side of his face looked like that before Ben was beating on him. I think that's what I noticed. And
I think
maybe
that
I'm
was supposed to
wrong.
be the effects of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a beatdown to get something like that. That looks like a burn victim a little bit.
He was giving some good right hands.
Yeah, for real. But, that's only the start of this. I think this really puts Harry on edge completely. I mean, that's a pretty humiliating thing, just getting beat up by somebody. And, he didn't throw back at all. I mean, it was justified totally. He tried to have been killed without a doubt. A pretty terrible thing to do, obviously. And Harry makes a very damning decision here. So, the zombies, they're really starting to creep up on the house at this point. And they are, arms are coming through the windows. They're clawing their way in. They're very close. And Ben has been adamant about holding that rifle. He's not letting anybody else handle the rifle. Definitely not Harry. And while he's he's trying to thwart back the zombies from entering through one of the windows, he puts the rifle down. And of course, while he does this, Harry is wrestling internally to decide whether to grab the rifle or help him out. And what he does, of course, he rushes and he grabs the rifle. And I was kind of surprised by how Ben responded to this, because he dropped what he was doing, where he was, holding down the fort, protecting the space from the zombies. And he charges at Harry. He grabs the rifle and he shoots him. I thought this was a huge scene, because, this whole time, of course, he's been killing zombies the whole time, but now he shot a person and he seemed to do it pretty easily. So were you guys shocked by this? And did you think this was like a deliberate choice, or was it sort of like a survival instinct?
It was insanity. I mean, just so much going on for, was that one night, did we say?
Yeah.
One night.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, everything happening all in a matter of several hours, just the matter of death, and right in the palm of their hands. He just lost it, because he's trying to keep his cool this whole time, when this guy is just being a total douche. So he's like, you know what? He has nothing to lose, really. So,
and not saying justified or not, but it did surprise me, because there was moments we've talked about already where he started to raise his voice and then he calmed himself, like with Barbara, like he got to where he was going to yell and you could see him just like stop and like take a breath and regain and be more calm when he speaks to her. So that did surprise me. But then I kind of wondered if there was some messaging there too, like everything they've been going through. And so we're talking about too, some people in 1968 watched this and were totally freaked out, and we're just like, meh,
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't care.
I can't say it, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Desensitization. I can't talk. But it might be a real thing. Like if you're constantly bombarded with that and exposed with that, it does not seem like that is too far of a step at that point. But at the beginning of the movie, you see him be like, no, I can't yell at her. Even this is a desperate situation. He knows it's really bad. He stops, takes a breath, and goes calmly forward. So, it caught me off guard how quickly that happened.
Yeah. I think that... Oh, here, Joe, you go.
I was going to say, because he knows that, Harry left him outside before, and now Harry's got the gun. So, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So... You only get so many chances in the survival instincts. I mean, it's a situation like that to really give so much leeway, because would Harry have shot Ben right there and just barricade himself in the basement? I wouldn't be surprised, even if he would have just held him up and said, okay, I'm not going to shoot you, but you're not going to come in the basement. So Ben knew, it's over at this point.
So not to go too much farther and not to put you on the spot, script doctor, but hearing about how you're involved with scripts and, like reading through all these things, what do you think of that character arc of Ben? And from where we began with that, I got to restrain myself and keep composure to that point. I'm just kind of curious, you're professional, like what you feel on that.
Excuse me. I personally enjoyed the scene because it's cathartic in a way. The biggest obstacle there, who refuses to cooperate, who even tries to betray me, ends up getting a little bit of karma.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Ben wasn't considering it when Harry was acting like, completely unreasonable, but he was trying to maintain his sense of morality. And then after that entire event where they try to get the car and then he's locked out, Ben is confirmed that this guy does not care about anyone other than himself. It was a miracle that he didn't throw a Molotov cocktail at Ben. Excuse me. But I thought it was a great, it's definitely, when I've seen this in theaters, every time he's shot, the crowd cheers.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean,
Yeah, of course.
Because this is a character who he has done everything in his power, and from a very fascinating point of view, everything in his power to not cooperate.
And make it difficult.
And
That's true.
he does not. I mean, it's one of the things that you will deal with every time when there's someone in a crisis, especially when the pandemic was occurring. I was frustrated with so many people that were not even willing to entertain ideas, questions, debates, strategy about how to operate or do things, especially like we lost hours just doing screening and check-ins on set for this stuff, and it never amounted to anything being better as a result. And you'd have these people that would just completely reject everything, no compromise, and all it does is it just makes everybody's day worse. And this guy here is saying, like, all I want to do is hide in a cellar with my family. And he's trying to convince people that it's the best idea, but his arguments are the weakest. It's like, there's only one entrance in. Yeah, there's only also one entrance out. What happens when, like, what if there's no help that ever comes? And now there are hundreds, if not thousands of ghouls outside that entrance and you're out of food. What do you do then, hotshot?
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing too. When I look at that, is Ben is not trying to stop him from keeping him and his wife and his child down there locked. Like, he's like, go do that.
Yeah.
But it's like a challenge that not everybody else wants to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. But
I mean, you can even argue it versus like, the West versus the Russian East. Like in Soviet Russia, you do what the authority tells you to. There's no debate. There's no ideas. And in America, it's like, no, let's have a conversation and let's figure this out. And let's have the freedoms of opportunity. And what do you have there? Well, Ben's just like, yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care. This is my plan. This is what I'm doing. What's Harry doing? It's like, you should do what I say. Why? It's like, who put you in charge?
Right.
And then the other part too is like also the ghouls themselves or zombies are also a reflection of like, groupthink. They all want one thing, to feast on the flesh of the living. And they'll do anything they can to do it. They'll be able to open doors, pick up rocks, smash windows. Like they have some agency to them for being undead. Of course, in future generations, they become more and more passive in their intelligence and just visceral. I would like to see one proper zombie movie because when a corpse is decaying, it only lasts about 12 years before it completely vanishes if it's not embalmed. And they're also incredibly weak because there's no protein or anything feeding their muscles. So it feels to me like as that type of a quote unquote apocalypse would be the easiest one to kind of just push aside.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, what's great about this, and I guess this does lean on more of the realistic side, is these guys are fresh, right? I mean, all this sort of happened in one day, right? The apocalypse. I don't think this was like previous days or anything. Wasn't everything just
it sounds
coming
like
together
pretty
here?
recent events.
Yeah. Man, spread quickly.
Mm.
Yeah, and I mean, I also enjoyed. I was so glad that they weren't like tearing the house apart. Like they were breaking down the door because they were picking items up and smashing the door with them. Or 5 bodies in pressing against something to break it open. I thought that was nice to see.
Well, and that just leans into, I think it was a fairly low budget film for the time and probably today too, even if you do inflation for today, but they worked with what they had. But that's where I think when you have a budget like that, you got to lean on writing and acting and the dialogue, and that goes a long ways. That's millions of dollars right there, But which is cool too, when it stretched their dollars, there's a lot of the characters that play double roles in a lot of this. So some of the people you see in the house are also got a bunch of makeup on them in zombie scenes, or somebody that was one of the cinematographers, like holding the camera. I think one time he got dressed up and was a zombie, and one of the people inside, I think, did one of the voiceovers on the newscast. And so they were stretching in their dollars, and it's cool when they can get resourceful and make something great with what they got.
Well, that's funny you bring that up because particular critic, he streams with us, and he was watching this with us earlier, and he said that his babysitter growing up was, at least she told him this, that she was an extra in this. And there really isn't that many background characters, so you think you'd be able to identify.
There's like
her
12
there.
people.
Yeah, right?
You know,
So she's one of those
Yeah.
12 there if she's not making stuff up. Yeah, I thought that was funny. But something, I want to talk about this one scene in particular because it's a very strong moment in the film that also stands out, kind of similar to the introduction, where, of course, the zombies all eventually, break in. And right before Ben retreats into the basement, Karen, the little girl who's been, who's recently been revealed to have been bitten, turns into a zombie. And she eats her dad. She eats his arm. He's already dead and he's down there and he's died. And she goes over to her mother who's sitting back there, and she doesn't really, I don't think she understands the scope of what's about to happen, obviously, because the little girl, she picks up like a trowel and then she strikes her with it, stabbing her with it just repeatedly, probably over a dozen times. And I just kind of wonder, this is such a strong scene. This is the most brutal scene in the entire movie. It's pretty graphic too. I was wondering, is there anything we could take away from this? Why do you think Romero decided to put this in here? Because, I mean, if you would have left this out of the movie, there may have been a case for this not even being an R-rated film, because it really isn't that graphic until we get to this. I mean, this was a brutal kill.
It makes me think whether the daughter was maybe abused or mistreated with her time with her mom, because the way she killed her mom, that spiteful. I mean, that was brutal. She was out to get her. That's
an interesting thought.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, stabbing her 17 times kind of made me, develop that thought.
Yeah, we don't see any of the other zombies try to do anything crazy like that.
It did seem kind of personal.
Except earlier, you see some where they got a hose or something. It's supposed to be the intestines, and they're rolling around. I was like,
oh, okay. Look at this.
And there was one where they were showing close-ups, and I'm like, that looks like a KFC chicken wing.
That's what I said. I said KFC too.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I just didn't know. It's such a stark, standout scene, and I really have no idea why they chose to do that or why it was so strong. I was hoping maybe you would know from your commentary or something like that, because
I don't, but maybe at that time, especially if you have a young child killing your parent in that way, that would have been a very dramatic thing for somebody to watch on a screen in 1968. And if that's just driving home how dire the situation is, but then if he's also doing undertones of some social commentary where, parents or children can turn on each other on what their thoughts are or what their beliefs are, or I don't know if they're going that deep with it, but if you just go base level at that time, to see a young child kill their mother in that way would have been probably pretty darn horrific.
Yeah.
You got to think of some crazy stuff now today, what would equal it at the time. But 68, that probably was he was driving home some horrific thing. And not saying it wasn't, but at that time it probably struck home a lot more than what it does for us today. So
maybe that's when you said your mom vomited. Who said
no,
that?
she didn't vomit.
That's Joe's.
But no, she said when she went as a kid to see the 10 Commandments, when the Red Sea parted, she didn't vomit. I never said that, but she said she was so scared she couldn't sleep that night. She was crying, she knew the Bible stories of that, but they had just never seen it visually before. And she tried to explain it to me one time before. She goes, yeah, I can look at it now and, it kind of looks kind of fake compared to, but she was, when I was a little kid and saw that, we never saw anything like that before. And it was on the big screen. Man. So 1968, a young child with a garden trowel or whatever that was, stabbing their mother. That was probably a pretty crazy, horrific scene for people at that time to watch.
Were you gonna say something, Joe?
I was gonna say I was the one that said my grandmother vomited. It was during the KFC scene after the
Okay.
car exploded,
yeah,
and the bodies and
okay.
stuff.
I had to correct that because my mom might watch this and she'll be like, "I never vomited, and you were spreading lies about me," and I'll get my mom mad at me.
I saw the Red Sea part. I just
I still want
vomited
her to
with
make
you.
some biscuits and gravy for me the next time I come back, so I can't get her mad at me. So I was kidding.
Let's see. All right, so let me get to the chat here real quick. Dead Man, what's up, Dead Man? Haven't seen you before. Isn't there a rights issue with the title of The Dead and The Living Dead?
There was some. I don't. Yes, I think there's some particulars about the exact wording that they would use for. I'm not going to speak too much.
Says
more
the
'cause
guy named The Dead Man.
The Dead Man. You tell us.
Yeah, sorry, Dead Man.
Plus, I
don't
love
think-
the Bears there. You
Yeah,
must be
there
a
you
Grateful
go.
Dead fan there.
Grateful Dead. That's why he's the Dead Man. It's not a sad reason. So that's good. Emperor Goodwin, good seeing you. In inexplicable situations, most people will seek out an explanation or plan, even if it doesn't really fit. And they'll cling to that because the unknown is scarier than the known. Yeah, that's fair.
We saw that with other things that were mentioned here that were more recent in our experiences, where they said, like, why is everybody going out and buying toilet paper? It's like that made them feel good. Like, I got this one concern taken care of. Like, I will buy all the toilet paper I can, and I'll be fine, you know. But it's true. It's in our psyche. It's like, I got this one thing under control, and it might be calming to know you got that one thing checked off the box. you know?
Yeah, that was weird. I did not go through that panic, but I guess I didn't have to worry about it.
But you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah, of course,
it's just
yeah.
like,
The
I can
concept.
control this. I can
Yeah.
grab as many as I can and buy it. And
Let's see. Juan, good to see you, Juan. I think this might be the first time I've ever seen you in a live. Glad I caught it live. Yep, good seeing you.
I've never seen that.
Isn't that awesome?
That
I love
avatar.
Like
Ryan Gosling.
like The Thing, they had a tight script. Yes, they did. Very tight. Oh yeah, the zombies weren't trying to eat brains here. That's a good point.
Just
That's
flesh.
a good differentiator.
Yeah, they were just-
flesh. Yep, Emperor Goodwin said it. Best way to save money when making a movie is good story and proper planning.
It's amazing how
He's
that-
also right. Never trust a Karen. Different concepts, but both true. Yep, and zombies prefer original recipe KFC.
It is a little crunchier.
Pre-fried. Let's see. Rebel Rose, it shows that every choice they made to protect their child blew up in their faces. Yeah.
But you still got to do it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's-
Joe's learning that. I hope you don't encounter a similar situation with this, Joe, in your
Oh, I've already killed everyone else in the house to protect my family. I'm already good.
He doesn't let anybody else in the house.
Nope, sorry, we're paid till Thursday.
Sorry, all full.
Let's see. Great. Awesome. Well, let's move on to the next part here. So we're getting close to the end. I think we are now. Yeah. I mean, poor Ben. He's in a rough situation here. He's all alone in the basement at this point in time. Everyone's dead. I mean, Barbara, she dies pretty quickly. You know, it's sort of sad seeing her pass away, you know, because she's finally being helpful. She sort of snaps out of the little funk she's been in, and she lends a hand when the Harry's wife is being grabbed at the front door, like through the window. You know, it looks like she's about to get torn apart. We don't see anything like that, but before that happens, Barbara comes into the picture and she's trying to help her out. And while that happens, I think the door opens. Yeah, the door definitely opens, and she sees Johnny, her brother, and then it's like it all just happens so fast that I couldn't exactly catch how that happened, but it looked like she like tried to, I don't know, embrace him, or she finally, you know, she found her brother. I mean, that's the person she's been more concerned about this whole time is her brother. You know, she left her brother to die back there when he hit his head, and she kind of beats herself up for it the whole movie. And finally she sees him again, and I guess she doesn't. I don't know if the whole concept of what's happening here is running through her head correctly. That he is a zombie because he's with all the others. But that was a pretty emotional scene, and I think it's weird that it almost gets glanced or grazed across because there's so many other things happening here. But yeah, so that happens, and then right afterwards, poor Ben is left in the house practically alone because Karen, she eats mom, or she didn't really eat mom, but she kills mom and eats the dad, and then Barbara's gone, and there's no Tom, there's no Judy. So he's now flooded. He's fleeing down in the basement. That's where he kills the zombified child, and then he also kills now the zombified mother. And he's down there all alone until the next morning, when he decides to see what it's like upstairs. He hears a lot of gunfire, and thankfully for him, as you hope, it's a brighter tomorrow, right? All the zombies are gone. The National Guard has finally made their way there, and they are killing all the zombies. And he erects from the cellar, and as he comes up there, he takes a look outside, and he gets shot in the face just like that. And I mean, when this happened, I was just blown away. Just
no warning at all.
Truly blown away. What do you guys? Do you think they thought that he was a zombie here? Do you think maybe they shot him because they didn't like him because of his, that? Or
I hope so.
Or tell me your experience with this scene, because this is a really sad moment.
My thought was not that, like, they didn't take the time to figure out if it was a zombie or not, and that's kind of the commentary there. They took action before really figuring out what was happening there. I don't think in their minds they were just like, it might be a zombie, and they did it. But like they didn't take the time to figure out if it was or not. They just did it, and then they high-fived and went on.
Exactly. I thought it was like a 28 weeks later thing. If it's moving, shoot it.
Yeah.
So that's what I got from it.
Because just like that, they were walking through the fields, and just like a couple were walking in front, and they just start popping off.
Yeah, it didn't look like they really processed it. Like,
no,
it was
they
sort
just
of
shot.
Not taking any chances, because
Nope.
if he happened to be a zombie and there was a risk of spreading it all over again in that area. So, I can't blame him.
How did you guys feel about this? Were you shocked when this happened?
No.
I was like, that's a sucky ending, man. I was like, come on.
I knew
everything he's been through, and
terrible things happen to good people, that's how it goes.
Well, I mean, if you look at what happened in the remake of it, we had a girl boss moment where she survives and
Oh gosh,
kills Harry in the end, and she lives, and so
just for you, Jackson.
Oof. We must rediscover this classic.
I would say the original was much better than the remake. I think it does a lot of things wrong, I think. But yeah, I think it's a hell of an ending, and I don't really know what else you could. I mean, you could have had it where, okay, Ben survives, and then what? He just joins zombie hunting groups and goes about his life. But I think this is definitely more iconic than that.
Yeah. How do you feel about the conclusion, Script Arthur?
I mean, it's very bittersweet, because it's basically saying like their entire journey to survive the night ended up being for nothing. And you're looking at, I mean, I know there's a lot of suggested political commentary, because Ben happens to be a black man, and then of course the sheriff and the National Guard take him out as soon as he walks out of the house. I think it had less to do with that, because if I'm not mistaken, I think Romero said that when he was writing the script, he never really gave any sort of credence to the appearance of them ethnically. But he just basically, it's all about the bitter reality is that sometimes you will fight tooth and nail to survive. And the very people that are trying to help you out of, or with their intention to help you out of their own fear, doing the same thing, will reflexively just take you out. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. And it's about inevitability here, where, I mean, it's also the same thing with like Final Destination films. The inevitability is that all but one of them is going to die. And in this case here, it wasn't so much about seeing Ben survive. It's the fact that the Romero was trying to elicit human reaction out of you as an audience member. It's like you cared about this person. You saw him go through all this stuff. You saw him lose the people that he trusted, some of the newer friendships he was starting to make. And he ended up becoming the only one to survive because every choice he made happened to be the right one. And even though he did everything right, he still lost. And that's just how the world works sometimes. And it just makes you really empathize with him as a character and make you, I mean, it's such a good and powerful ending. And yeah, there's a lot of people would be like, oh, I wish he did live. But the story was not about him surviving. It was about society's reaction to people that do survive. Like, yeah, that's the other part too. Like you can, there's even a commentary on Vietnam. Like you have a soldier that goes through in the 60s, it goes through all of that horrible events. There was several tours. They come back, and instead of lauded as a hero, they're lauded as a pawn or a tool of a government that people were questioning the need for such a war. And excuse me. And that's, a nice parallel that this movie happens to have. Is it just says that yes, sometimes things can become pointless because the masses don't take into account case by case situations. And that's one thing that's interesting with Ben is like he was all about like, yeah, do what you want. This is what I'm doing. I'm not going to interfere. We're just going to try and see what we can to make it to where we have to go to next. Barricade yourselves up. Okay, next course of action is, there's a place to go where everybody can be safe. Okay, let's go there. He rolls with he's more reactive to the world around him as opposed to trying to manipulate the world to suit his needs like Harry was. And also kind of like what the government was doing is they were communicating only the information they wanted to communicate. And they were telling people, you got to come and be us. Only we can protect you. And it's like saying, give up your own agency and go to these government safe houses, and we will take care of you. And then the question you have to ask is, well, when can we leave? And would you be able to leave? And those types of stories didn't come until much, much later into the Romero series.
Oh, wow, man. You got me excited. I want to keep this story going. That's awesome. I'm especially excited for whichever zombie movie it is where on the cover you have zombies with pistols. I definitely want to know where that goes. I don't know which one of those that is. I was looking at his history, and it was
Dawn
one of
of the
those.
Dead.
It was Dawn of the Dead. I want to see that so bad.
Is that the one at the mall
Dane?
where they're locked in the mall?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they might have had pistols. I kind of forget that part of the film.
Man, that's a
There's
stretch.
there's the remake too. You got the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead too.
Whoa, really?
Well,
Yeah.
directed by Zack Snyder, written by James Gunn.
Correct. Sorry. Yes.
Oh,
Thank you.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was actually a banger, that one. That was when James Gunn
That's
was,
an action one.
yeah.
That
was a great one.
Man,
Hear that, Jackson?
I know. That's a nightmare, really. That's half nightmare, half grace. I don't know which one to take.
That's when the zombies ran for the first time. That was definitely my first time seeing a zombie
fast
run.
zombies.
It was
Terrifying.
It's like, oh, this is a game changer right here.
I'd have a better chance in this Night of the Living Dead than Zack Snyder's Return. Yeah, they're fast ones in that one. So
I mean, I thought it was kind of funny that Snyder tried to go back to zombies with his whole like Las Vegas Netflix thing, and completely crickets.
Just make more
Is this
Superman
like
movies.
super recent?
yeah, well,
Yes, last
not
year.
too long ago.
Last
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Okay.
He actually has a spin-off series that I think Jay Oliver is supposed to direct, but I don't think it's released yet.
Army of the Dead, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Okay. I know
was
that
a
name.
Netflix one, yeah.
Okay. And it's dog. It's not good.
I
Dave
mean,
Bautista's in this, so what does that tell you?
listen, I know there's lots of fans of Zack Snyder out there for visuals, and he is one heck of a cinematographer, and I did meet him when he was doing 300 and thought like he's a nice enough guy, but he does not have the mentality or the brain power to be a narrative architect for film. I mean, this is the guy who publicly said his Rebel Moon series is like Star Wars in space.
That's pretty low.
Opposed to Star Wars and where?
Where else is it set? It's like, yeah. So yeah, well, he's part of like another problem with the industry is that some people are pulled into a direction that or part of a career that doesn't really actually suit them entirely well. Like, Snyder, he directed music videos for almost 2 decades trying to get a feature film, and no one would give it to him. And the only one that he would take was, of course, Dawn of the Dead, because every other director said, I'm not remaking George A. Romero. What are you, crazy? and James Gunn fought against writing the script for a long time until he was told, listen, you can honor the original as much as you want. We just want to do this type of thing here. And he's like, okay, as long as I get to do that. And yeah, he did. He had fun with it, and he gave it a nice, serious tone. And then Zack Snyder managed to pull off, like, I think it's probably his best film he's ever made.
Wow.
I would not argue that with you,
man. So you're a fan of that one script?
Yeah. I mean, it was. I was so hesitant and doubtful, and I was dragged to a screener of it against my will, and I was shocked. I was like, wow, this is actually quite good. These characters have a lot more depth than I was expecting them to. It's kind of like he's honoring what Romero was doing. It's like, these are these characters. We have to feel that if they live or die, whatever outcome, the audience is going to be very appreciative of.
Well, it's kind of similar to this movie too, where you have definite characters that are fitting roles. You can see where they're coming from and how they can cause conflicts if you're closed in this situation. And yeah, anyway, you definitely can see homages to things like the movie we were talking about tonight. So
let's see. I want to get to some of these chats before we move on. Let's see.
And if I was going to get caught in a zombie apocalypse, I guess a mall would not be a bad place, so.
I don't know. There's not like there's no safe place to stay. I mean, all those rooms have big glass walls.
Yeah, but it's kind of fun with that one too, because there's like sporting goods stores and hunting stores.
Yeah, shelves.
Oh, that's funny. Nice.
Now, today's malls, you'd be in trouble because 3/4 of the stores are closed and they're just empty.
Maybe those would be the safest ones, though, because they're
right.
like actually walled off and you can't see inside. That's so sad. Poor malls. Let's see. TGV Monster. One of my favorite lines of the film is said at the end. Another one for the fire.
Yeah.
Oh, that's messed up.
Well, but it's true. That's kind of their high five moment at the end. It's like, got another one.
Man.
Let's go.
Dang. Emperor Goodwin. Societies tend to overreact to threats and the rules change. The individual is less important in those moments than the safety of the collective. Yeah, seems like it. That's like the whole mantle of the National Guard at this point, right? And I mean, it kind of makes sense because, there's so many zombies out there. They're not really considering that, there might be some poor stragglers in there too. Emperor Goodwin also says, it's very similar to a war story where survival is often a matter of change rather than some great skill. Let's see. That's so crazy that Zack Snyder and James Gunn like partnered on a project. That's the ultimate duo, isn't it?
It was a fantastic movie.
Both responsible for destroying DC in different ways. Dead Man. I thought Day of the Dead was the one in the mall. Is that so?
No, that's Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead,
I think, is later. Because, again, there's 2 Dawn of the Dead. There's one in the 70s, which has the worst right hook ever recorded on film. And then there's the remake. And then there's Day of the Dead, which I think is George A. Romero. I think John Leguizamo's in that one. And
that's Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead.
Day of the Dead has Nick Cannon and Ving Rhames in it.
Oh, man.
And the power of love made a zombie not kill a random blonde woman.
Wait, did you say Billy Zane?
No, Nick Cannon and Ving Rhames.
Oh, I'm way off. Billy Zane, he was Titanic, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And he's also the Phantom, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Phantom is the first thing.
He was also in a zombie movie, a contained thriller zombie movie. oh gosh, I think it was like 2004 it came out. I gotta look this up now. But I know
Sounds
it because I knew a bunch of people, because we were all just starting out, like we were still in college, but a whole bunch of us were just starting out, and a few of my colleagues managed to work with him, and of course had nothing but great praise to say, because it was a low budget indie film that nobody was really taking too seriously. Like the makers of it weren't taking it too seriously, but he was quite good. I just trying to see if I can find it
sounds
here.
like a new movie I need to watch.
It's called The Mad. 2007, The Mad.
Mad. Okay.
Yeah.
Add it to the list, Wilkie.
Yeah, with everything else. No, I've never heard of that one before. That's cool.
Script Doctor, can we find you in any movies where I could see your face?
My face? Oh. No, I started out as an extra when I was a kid. I was one of the kids in Bryan Singer's X-Men film.
Cool.
I've seen that movie a dozen times. I can't find where I am because I was at the school and I was also at the train station, and I cannot be found.
Totally anonymous.
Yeah.
Respect. You're cool. Nice, man. Well, one of my final questions that I think is just like a blanket statement about this whole movie, because, it was a real pleasure talking about it with all you guys. We definitely got into the nitty gritty. That was a lot of fun. What's like overall, what's so clever about this movie? Because, obviously this is such an important film, for what it did, of course, redefining or defining what a zombie is, literally, from scratch. This is a zombie, and from here on out, I mean, horror hasn't, it's changed for the greater since this has happened. But what else about this movie is just clever overall? What gives it the respect that it has that still remains today?
It's black and white. It gives it that classic horror movie, like a Twilight Zone episode almost.
There's that, yeah, 100%.
Well,
music.
It's leaning on talent instead of shock value and jump scares. I mean, so the black and white takes out maybe the blood and the gore part of it, but then you're left with characters, writing, dialogue, the scenes, the score, and I think that's what's clever about it is there's a lot of talent there. Sorry, it's just they're not leaning on just a jump scare or over the top gore, because there's long drawn out dialogue scenes in this, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. I mean, their long dialogue scenes build tension, and you get to know the characters, and you get to know why there's conflicts between some of them. So anyway, yeah,
that's the best part of the movie. I love the character drama. It's great. What were you saying, Script Doctor?
No, I was just saying, like, again, it uses all of its limitations to its best part. It follows a simple rule, which is, complex characters, simple plot. All your favorite stories have the simplest plot. Oh, stop the bad guy kind of thing, or survive the night, or get to the chopper, whatever it is you want to do. And it's the characters themselves that make it interesting. This here is hits all the tropes. It's actually really leans in on choices and putting. I mean, nothing is easy for any of the characters, which also makes it far more entertaining of the script, because now you're biting your nails and wondering, like, okay, are they going to make it out of this one? I've spent 45 minutes with these two characters, and one is completely like a vegetable right now, and the other one is just struggling just to find nails and break pieces of furniture just to board up doors and windows in hopes of surviving. And will they pull it off? And what a great question to have running throughout the course of the films. Like, will they survive this night? And if they do, what next? And
yeah, none of them are perfect. None of them are perfect and overpowering. They all have their limitations that you see in that. I think that's a bigger draw to me than just like, oh, I'm the boss, and just like level everything out. But
Yeah, they feel like real humans, I mean, Script Doctor, you know better than all of us just about how inhuman so many main characters in, modern Hollywood, the big box office films really are. Like I feel like, when I'm at the theater nowadays, I don't feel like I'm even watching a real person anymore. It's like, what a writer, what a director deems a person to be. I just don't. I feel like here in this movie, we're looking at people and we're looking at the uncomfortable truths about who they are. We're seeing, their flaws, their strengths, and some realistic reactions to a lot of real life scenarios that could very well, even though it's not zombie related, a lot of the same stressors can affect us in our own life. I think that's something I love about this too. I love that these are humans, real characters, real people that you can attach to, and role models. Ben is awesome. My gosh, I love this character. I didn't know anything about this going in to see this.
Well, that's the
Nothing.
best way to experience Night of the Living Dead. Like to your point, what you're talking about is authenticity, because this Romero and his entire production, they sell you on this idea as authentic and legitimate, and they're not trying to make it as real as possible. Because again, a satellite orbiting Venus that's on approach to Earth to return information gets remotely blown up when they detect a unique form of radiation. That's a big ask. In addition to the dead are now walking among us.
Yeah,
but they
that's a
play
big
it straight.
change.
They trickle out the information just enough for you. Now, the sad part is it's not even just in the studio side of things that we're getting kind of divorced performances. Take a look at Hulu, take a look at Netflix, a lot of their originals, and there's an abundance of like raunchy comedies on Hulu and Netflix that you'll never be able to get recommended to just because the algorithm doesn't work that way. But they are played pretty flat. And I think part of that has to do with the rushing form of cinematography and editing that's done with modern film. Is you have a lot of locked cameras, a two shot, or basically just over the shoulders. And so you have one actor who is technically acting off of a script supervisor or someone feeding them lines, and the other actor's not there that day. And then they do the reversal with the other actor, and then they'll do some brief coverage with the two of them in the scene so that the audience believes that these two are actually talking to each other. But you're lacking chemistry, you're lacking emotion. There's nothing being returned because acting is reacting, and you're both feeding everybody that's in the scene. And you rarely get that type of stuff anymore, because when you're dealing with large budget films in the studios or streamers, you have to make your day. And the easiest way to make your day is to be the most efficient as possible. And if you only need one actor one day to shoot their coverage, and they're not going to screw up because they're not intimidated by anyone else there, that's going to be pulled off. But then you take someone like, say, Ian McKellen, who is a legendary actor from stage and screen, and he was brought to tears doing The Hobbit because he wasn't acting opposite anyone. And he needs that in order to perform.
Oh, he was brought to tears in a sad way, not like a positive way.
Yeah, like and the worst way you want to bring an actor to tears is the fact that they're essentially in solitude. And one of the things that actors do and why they become actors is they like to be surrounded by people, whether it's other actors or an audience. And we have that's why there's no breakout stars between the ages of 18 and 30. I mean, Glenn Powell, kind of. Not really.
Yeah.
He's trying, and I'm hoping for the best, but he's also getting closer to 40. Robert Pattinson had his moment and he's done. Now he's way better in indie films than he is in any studio stuff. Hard pressed to find any other names out there.
I feel like they're gonna start pushing this McKenna Grace, who's in that, what is it, Regretting You? She was in Ghostbusters. I feel like we're gonna start getting her in more stuff. And
she kind of got a lot of attention because she was in Young Sheldon for a bit. And that's kind of where she came from. One of the few actors that kind of was made from television and now is going into film. It's really tough out there. And then the other part is that a lot of people that would have potentially been great actors decided to go make money as an Instagram model or personality. and because it's easier and you don't have to deal with all the politics. And I'm not talking like, left or right politics. I'm talking about Hollywood politics, which
Yeah,
is
sure.
reputation is paramount because that gets you money. And if you don't have a good reputation, you don't get money. And whatever the good reputation is dictated by the studios that are in most control of the town. And when you guys were growing up, when Disney was in control, I'm very sorry, because that was the first time Disney had ever been in control of Hollywood. And now we are living and suffering as a result of it.
Gosh, make it stop, Script Doctor. Take us back, please. Undo this.
Warner Brothers is already kind of leading the way right now. They've had the most hits financially and critically in the last 2 years. They're taking over the reins. It used to be between them and Fox and Paramount back in the day. And with Fox gone and Paramount doing I don't know what over there, Trust is the only one out here, and you got Universal and Sony just kind of off to the sides, just doing their own thing.
Not to go too far off topic, but can you throw out like one or two that were a breath of fresh air for you to see?
A breath of fresh air for me, of like studio films.
Yeah.
I really like Sinners.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, similar to this one, vampires instead of zombies, outside of an establishment. A little too long, but I mean, it's still really good. Haley Steinfeld was fantastic in that. I was impressed with Michael B. Jordan as well. Let's see. Another one that I really enjoyed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
He's
put you
hard
on the
to find.
spot.
No, I've been working.
There's not
on a
much
bunch
to
of
choose
shows.
from.
But Sinners is a great. Yeah.
Sinners was a great one.
Great.
Oh,
Weapons was mine for the year.
I'm trying to remember. Oh, F1. Gosh, why did I?
Oh, yeah.
F1 was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That was like a return to let's have a summer fun movie. Like
Summer fun movie. And then I just saw Weapons. I missed it in theaters, but I managed to see it. And Weapons was great.
Yeah. I needed that, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did predict that 2024 would be the year where we start picking up and seeing the change of Hollywood. And now 2025 has been pretty good. 2026 for film and television, like streaming shows, looks to be not peak, but like really like positive. Like I think a lot of people in these spaces are going to find far more things that they're going to enjoy than hate, which is a good thing because we're long overdue for that.
Yeah. Damn right.
we're ready for it. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll end on that positive note, Script Doctor. Yeah. Thank you to my wonderful panel for coming here today. It was a lot of fun talking about this old movie with you guys, Night of the Living Dead. Real pleasure having you on, Script Doctor, for the first time. Thank you for your time, and thank you, Reward Joe and Wilkie, for joining as always. And if for whatever reason, viewers, if you haven't checked out these guys already, go into my description below and give all of them a subscribe and check out their content. Script Doctor, first time on here. I love his scripts on Saturdays. They're a lot of fun. Him and a guest, they go over these interesting screenplays, and they go through the story and kind of paint the picture for you as an audience member. And I really enjoyed listening to these, especially over the summertime. For quite a few summers, I love listening to these because I would paint murals outside, and the way you guys would describe these scripts of these stories, I would picture in my head and kind of actively see it while I was painting. So it was really exciting, a lot of fun you can have with him on there. And then of course, check out World War Joe and Wilkie, and it's always a pleasure to have Luke on as well. But thank you, viewer, for watching. If you liked what we had to say today, please make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.